The backrooms, the crossing. Jack got off the elevator after his 8-hour shift. Lifeless eyes didn't notice he was stepping into the liminal. The doors opened to the wrong floor, not his floor. He knew that somewhere in the back of his exhausted mind, but his body moved anyway. Muscle memory divorced from thought, one foot, then the other, into a hallway that stretched longer than it should, lit by fluorescent panels that hummed at a frequency just slightly wrong. He was supposed to turn left, had turned left every day for 3 years. His legs kept him straight instead. The carpet was beige, industrial, the kind designed to hide stains and show nothing. Walls the color of forgotten documents. Doors with no nameplates, spaced at intervals that seemed regular until you tried to count them. Jack walked and didn't wonder why he was walking. Didn't question why the hallway continued. Didn't notice that he'd been walking for longer than the building was wide. His phone buzzed, a reminder about dinner plans he'd already forgotten. The screen showed 6:47 p.m., then 6:47 p.m. again, then 6:47 p.m. Jack put it away without registering the repetition. The fluorescent panels flickered, a brief stutter in the light. Jack looked down at his feet out of habit. The instinctive check everyone does when darkness threatens, making sure their shadow is still attached, still theirs. Nothing, the light steadied. Still nothing. Jack stopped walking, held up his hand. The fluorescent glow was everywhere. Above, reflected from walls, seeming to come from the carpet itself. Omnidirectional, sourceless. His hand was fully illuminated from every angle at once. No shadow. He turned in place, slowly studying the walls. The light fixtures, the impossible geometry of illumination that left no darkness anywhere. Tried to create shadow with his body, blocking light that had no clear source to block. The fluorescent panels flickered again. In that moment of near darkness, he looked down, desperate to see the absence of light his body should create. Still nothing. The flicker created no shadow. The light came from everywhere, always, even when it dimmed. As if darkness was something that didn't exist here. As if depth itself had been removed. Jack's exhaustion evaporated. Clarity came too late. This wasn't an office building. It was wearing one. Jack ran. Not because running helped. He understood already that distance meant nothing here. But because standing still in shadowless light felt like drowning in air. His footfalls made sounds that died immediately, swallowed by carpet and walls, and the omnipresent hum that might have been electricity, or might have been something older pretending. The exit signs glowed green. 7 of them in the first corridor. He picked one at random, pushed through the door, found another hallway. Same beige, same fluorescents, same impossible light that came from everywhere and nowhere. He tried another exit, then another. Each door opened to reveal what might have been the same hallway, or might have been a different one wearing the same face. After the 5th door, Jack stopped trying. Understanding settled over him like the light. There were no exits here. Just the appearance of them. Just the suggestion that escape was possible if you chose the right door, made the right turn, believed hard enough in the geometry you'd learned in the world above. Or was it below? Beside, outside? Direction was getting fuzzy. Jack checked his phone again. Still 6:47 p.m. He opened his messages, tried to type a text to anyone, everyone. His fingers moved, but no words appeared. The keyboard existed, but produced nothing. The screen showed battery at 83%, at 47%, at 91%, cycling through percentages like someone flipping through channels. He looked up from the phone to find he'd been walking the entire time. The hallway had changed, or hadn't changed, but his position in it had shifted without his legs carrying him. He was standing in front of a water cooler, clear plastic jug full of water that looked normal until you studied it too long and realized the surface wasn't quite level, wasn't quite still, moved according to physics that didn't match the bottle's orientation. Something about the water made Jack's throat tighten. He wasn't thirsty, couldn't remember the last time he'd been thirsty. The physical needs that had defined his days. Hunger, exhaustion, the bathroom breaks time to avoid meetings. All of it had gone quiet here. Maybe he'd left more than his shadow at the threshold. The lights flickered again, longer this time. A full second of dimness. Jack pressed himself against the wall, trying to use his body to create depth, to cast shadow on the flat beige surface. Nothing. His body refused to block light that wasn't quite light. The wall behind him glowed softly, illuminated by his presence rather than obscured by it. In the flicker, Jack thought he saw something move at the end of the hallway. Not walking, appearing, then disappearing, then appearing closer. When the light steadied, he was alone again. But in the water cooler's warped reflection, he could see what his eyes wouldn't show him directly. The shadowless thing he'd become. standing in a hall of shadowless light, wearing the face of someone who used to be Jack, but had forgotten how. The thing in the reflection didn't move when Jack moved, it just watched. The loop. Jack was moving again, not choosing to move, just moving, as if motion was the default state and stillness required conscious effort he no longer had capacity for. His legs carried him through doors he didn't remember opening, down corridors he couldn't distinguish from previous corridors, past water coolers and conference rooms, and those inspirational posters about teamwork that existed in every corporate space ever built. Then he noticed the coffee stain on the carpet, roughly 3 feet from a door marked Conference Room C. Brown and circular, and old enough to have settled into the industrial beige like a birthmark. Jack walked past it, turned a corner, walked past it again. Different hallway, same stain. Same position relative to Conference Room C. He started paying attention. A scuff mark on the wall at knee height, a ceiling tile slightly crooked, the coffee stain. Conference Room C, exit sign with a dead bulb in the X water cooler. Beige fluorescent. Loop. Jack walked faster. The elements repeated, but not in order. Scuff mark, before Conference Room C, then after, then gone entirely for 3 passes, then back. The water cooler moved positions. The coffee stain grew and shrank, but the loop was undeniable. He was walking through the same space, over and over, while the space rearranged its furniture like a stage crew between acts. He ran, Conference Room C, coffee stain, scuff mark, water cooler, exit sign, beige, beige, beige fluorescent, shadowless light that came from everywhere, including inside his own skull. Faster. The elements blurred. He was sprinting now, legs burning, chest heaving, his body remembering physical limits the space had been trying to make him forget. Conference Room C, Conference Room C, Conference Room C. The coffee stain multiplied. 7 of them, 13, 43. Covering the carpet like spilled blood, like evidence, like the breadcrumbs he'd failed to leave because there was no darkness here to mark with dropped stones, no shadows to trace his path, no depth to anything including himself. Jack opened his mouth to scream. Nothing came out. The shadowless place had taken his voice, had taken everything that required darkness to exist. Shadow, voice, the capacity for sound to echo and prove that space had dimensions. He was running through a hallway that was running through him, and they were both flat, both surface, both nothing. He tried again, pulling the scream from somewhere deeper than his throat. From the place that still remembered being a person instead of a persona, still knew the difference between existing and performing existence. The scream tore out of him like birth, like violence, like the first sound in creation before light learned to be everywhere at once. Jack's head snapped up from his desk. The office. His office. The real one. Grey cubicle walls. Natural light from windows that created actual shadows. He could see his coffee cup's shadow on the desk. Real and dark and beautiful. His computer screen showed 6:47 p.m. and then, as he watched, ticked over to 6:48. Time was moving again. Around him, colleagues packed up their things. Someone laughed at the water cooler, the one that obeyed physics, that sat in ordinary space under ordinary fluorescent lights that created ordinary shadows. Jack looked at his hands, held them up to his desk lamp. Shadow, perfect and dark in there. He looked at the hallway leading to the elevators. Beige carpet, drop ceiling, fluorescent panels. The exit sign glowed green at the far end. His keys were in his hand. His coat was on. He didn't remember standing up. Jack walked to his manager's office, knocked, opened the door before waiting for an answer. "I quit," he said, not explaining, not apologizing, just stating fact, like announcing the time, like confirming he still had a voice that could move through air and be heard. Walked to the elevator, pressed the button, watched his shadow on the wall as he waited. Proof that he existed in 3 dimensions, that depth was still possible, that not all spaces were flat. The elevator doors opened. Jack looked inside. Normal. Mirrored walls showing his reflection from multiple angles. Shadows in the corners where light couldn't quite reach. Depth, darkness. Dimensions that went down as well as across. He stepped inside, pressed lobby. The doors closed. The elevator descended. And for the first time in years, maybe the first time ever, Jack paid attention to where he was going.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more. Share to help the channel grow.